LP's husband cheated on her while she was 22 weeks pregnant. Okay, well, I'll officially be 22 weeks tomorrow, but close enough. We got married in February, on Valentine's Day actually. How romantic, right? He's in the military and he went to training on the opposite side of the US right after we got married, until late June. I visited late April, when we knew I'd be ovulating, in order to try for a baby. It worked. After training, we moved to our new station, into military housing, our first time living together, and I was about 13 weeks along by the time we got here. On the trip here, we had been fighting quite a bit. He didn't understand how straining the pregnancy and traveling were, and he decided to adopt a puppy on top of that, while we already had a 1-year-old pup waiting to transfer from our old home to our new one. So this was a huge point of contingency. I felt he was selfish for getting the dog without taking me into consideration, since his job takes him out of town a lot and I would be stuck raising and training the puppy, while pregnant, working, adjusting to a new town, and already taking care of a young dog, and he felt I was selfish for not wanting to help him since he wanted a puppy so badly. We fought about this for months, until finally he gave the dog to his brother. All this still left things strained, and we'd fight pretty often over little things that would escalate. About 3 weeks ago, he left for work for a week and a half. Things between us were good, like we were sweet and lovey, and he told me how much he missed me and couldn't wait to come home. Couldn't wait to come feel our baby kick. Couldn't wait to come hold me and kiss me. Just good. It felt so nice to feel loved after all the fighting. When he got back, we got our anatomy ultrasound. It's a girl. We watched her play with her toes and pat her head. It was amazing. We discussed names and even decided on one we both felt was right. Things were great. Today, that changed. I checked my Facebook message requests for whatever reason, and I had one in there from about 2 weeks ago. It just said, "Hi Reno Bear." It was from a girl who I had no friends in common with, or even friends of friends, and I thought maybe she was a MLM girl trying to sell me something. Until I looked at her profile closer, and it showed she was from the same place my husband was at for work. Weird. I accepted it and replied yeah. And she read it and didn't respond. So a few hours later I sent "I'm sorry, do I know you?" and waited again for a response. Now, my husband is again out of town, this time until probably mid-December. He left on Thursday and didn't have service until today. So when he texted me that he had service, I asked when he'd be able to talk because something weird had happened. He asked what, and I told him a girl from messaged me, to which he responded, "Lol what?" I asked him upfront if there was anything he needed to tell me that I should be hearing from him, and he kept denying anything. Well, the girl messaged back. She asked if I was in the middle of a divorce. I told her no. She told me my husband had cheated on me with her friend, and she had screenshots. And when they called him out on being married, he said we were in the middle of a divorce that just needed to be finalized, that we were getting a divorce because I had cheated on him, and that I was pregnant and he wasn't sure the baby was his because of my cheating. He then slept with this girl twice, neither times using protection. Her friend was very helpful with the details, which I appreciate yet hate her for. She sent me the screenshots too, of his Tinder, of his messages asking if she was down to F, of his texts saying we were divorcing and I cheated on him. I'm sick to my stomach. I haven't heard from him since she told me. He just kept denying anything. The last text I sent to him was just asking for the truth, just asking for honesty. I thought I deserved that. I guess he doesn't. So here I sit, contemplating what to do next, while my daughter kicks away at my stomach reminding me I'm not alone, which honestly only seems to be making me feel worse. My options coming out of this are awful to me. I spent so long actively preventing pregnancy until I was in a situation that was suitable to start a family. And now that option's being torn away. I'm now going to be a single mom. It's not fair, and I'm having a hard time dealing. I keep switching between feeling numb and gut-wrenchingly sad and absolutely sick. You haven't failed your daughter by any means. You're showing her you're strong enough to walk away from a situation in which you weren't respected. You are setting an example for her of what a strong woman looks like. I'm proud of you for handling a devastating moment with grace and dignity. You got this. I'm so sorry. You deserve so much more. Save all of those messages and screenshots. They might be helpful down the line if you go to court. Your husband is a total crap for doing this. Take time to grieve and then start making a plan. Can you return home to live near family, friends, a support network? As the daughter of a fighter mom who left a cheating husband, who was also in the military, I can tell you that she didn't fail me. She saved me from growing up in a household full of tension and yelling. And she taught me that I was too good to ever put up with a man who didn't respect me. We struggled for a while, but we were happy. It was the two of us taking on the world. I know it's hard right now, but someday your daughter will know why you did what you needed to do. And I think you know what you need to do. You're going to be an amazing mom and you can do this. Take whatever actions you need to in order to protect yourself and your babe. And do it unapologetically. Wow, truly sad to hear your story. Just wanted to remind you that although I'm sure you do feel embarrassed, this should be embarrassing for him. You are absolutely not failing at a relationship, in no way. It sounds like you were under the impression that you had a lovely life, especially being at home taking care of business while he is away on duty. Such a lovely thing to do, and carrying a child is not easy, especially when facing upsetting situations. He sounds like a moron, and I'm sorry you've lost the man you thought he was. This is going to take a lot of time to feel any resemblance of normal, but be patient, you've got loads of support here. Well crap. That's one hell of a kick in the mouth. I was with an abusive man for 6 years. One of my biggest regrets is not leaving him while I was pregnant. At that point I had a feeling already something wasn't right about my relationship. You will survive this and thrive. Now you've been given what seems to be enough evidence to get a favorable arrangement for you and your unborn child. Take all that to a lawyer and make your move from there. Update. So to start where we left off, I did end up hearing from him the day after receiving the messages on Facebook. But only after I texted him first saying that after everything we'd been through, the least he could do was call me. He agreed to, after saying multiple times how he didn't want to fight with me. At this point, we hadn't discussed the infidelity at all. But when I had brought up the girl messaging me, he had said he had sought legal advice while he was away to see how he could protect his career if we got a divorce. And obviously this upset me and we fought about this until he stopped responding to me, at which point the girl on Facebook had replied. When he called, I had decided to record the call, because I didn't trust anything he said and he had a habit of gaslighting me, and saying he didn't say things he did, so for my own sanity I wanted proof of the phone call. The very first thing he said was that we had been fighting all the time and he wasn't happy. How he 100% thought he'd be coming home to no wife, even though we were very affectionate the whole time he was gone. He kept circling around the subject, like he couldn't physically say the words of what he'd done. But I kept pushing until he did. But even then, he still tried to lie. He said he'd met her at the legal office he'd gone to, and then they had hung out. But I had seen his Tinder profile and their Tinder messages, so I called him out on that and he immediately backed out of it. He told me it was a mistake, it wasn't worth it, that she was the only girl he'd ever met up with. 100% never had happened before. I asked where he wanted to go from here, and he said, well, a lot of things are going to have to change, and went into how we'd need counseling and needed to stop fighting all the time. Which, yeah, okay, but you're just going to blow past the cheating part. The call didn't land on any definitive point, we were in relationship limbo. My mom and brother flew over to spend time with me. We did every touristy thing we could do, and met family in the area. They were very supportive and didn't pressure me to make a decision one way or the other. They were there for about a week, and during that time me and my husband were talking every day, going over our options and what to do. My options really were to go home and separate from him, or fly to where he was and seek marriage counseling and try to mend things. Since there was a complete lack of trust now, I couldn't fathom trying to fix things being long distance for 3 months. He was upset about me flying there due to money, saying it would be unreasonable and unrealistic to do that, which to me, to possibly save our marriage and family, it seemed worth it. In the end, my family went back home without me, and we had decided to work things out and seek counseling separately while we were apart, and then marriage counseling when he got home on leave, which he would be taking about a month from this decision. I made it a point to confirm that we were 100% in this, working things out, not seeing other people, no more Tinder. The words "please don't sleep with anybody else" came out of my mouth more than once, and were met with reassurance that of course he wouldn't. Then a few days after this, he brings up the puppy again. The housing he had found for it had fell through, and he wanted to ship it to me to take care of, to which I again put my foot down and refused. At this point, I was so stressed out with everything I was hardly eating or sleeping, and I was crying all the time. I had gone to my OB for an STD screening, at which they questioned why, and I told them about his infidelity, and cried in the office, and found out I had lost 6 pounds and my blood pressure was 140/69. So I wasn't doing too great, and I was not adding another animal on top of that. But these arguments fell on deaf ears, and I was again the selfish one for not helping him out. At this point, he ignored me all weekend and then said it was because he was upset, but also his mom was in town visiting him to make sure he was okay, because he'd told his family that things were bad and we might divorce, but of course left out the why part. A few days after that, We were texting and I opened up about how I was feeling really insecure with us and needed reassurance that he loved me and wanted to work on things and wanted our family. He gave me a little, but when I asked for more he ghosted me. I figured maybe he'd fallen asleep, so I started making dinner. But I got a bad feeling, and so I checked his location. We were sharing our locations with each other and he was at apartment buildings. I blew his phone up with calls, and eventually he texts me telling me to calm down and that he'd just fallen asleep, to which of course I freaked out and asked where he was, and who he was with, and what the F he was doing and to call me immediately because what the F, to which he refused until I calmed down. Still a little heated about that lol. He called and said he was at a friend's house drinking beer, a friend he used to work with that had just gotten stationed there, a guy friend. I told him to send me proof and he had the audacity to say, "I know it's hard right now, but you need to trust me." I know, why haven't I left yet? He ended up sending me a screenshot of their texts, obviously with a guy's name as the contact name. Cool, okay, let's wrap it up a little bit now. On the first, my phone started receiving messages from his phone since we shared an Apple ID. He got 2 texts that morning from local numbers of where he's working. The first one, "Can you send pics?" The second one was saying they couldn't meet up that day because they were sick. So I called him out, asking who he was texting. "You? What do you mean? You're the only person I'm texting." Lie. I sent him a screenshot and he played dumb. I said okay, I'll just call them then and ask. To which he freaked out via text about how I was being unreasonable. Then he started to trickle truth. He had been talking to people but nothing sexual. He was just so lonely and he is underage and can't go to bars. So he was just so bored and wanted to get out of his hotel room. Blah blah blah. When I asked how he was meeting these non-sexual friends. Tinder of course, right? So I told him to prove it, give me his password and let me read his Tinder messages. Nope, I'm eating lunch, I can't right now. You need to calm down. You're being crazy. Yeah, that's what I thought. I told him I was done. I messaged both numbers and told them he was married and expecting a baby, and one of them sent me screenshots from the night before of him begging her to come to his hotel room. How she could shower and sleep there. How he knew she wanted to. I asked if they'd met up before, and she said yeah, the previous weekend, and they'd hooked up. The weekend his mom was supposedly there. The weekend with the fight over the puppy. I sent him the screenshots and told him he was an idiot. He immediately switched tones, was immediately cold and checked out. The veil had been dropped. I texted my mom and told her I'd be coming home. At this point, I'd seen a therapist twice, and she had said from the start that he sounds like a narcissist. She'd told me at my second appointment that she knew she couldn't tell me to leave him, because everything has its own pace, but that she was worried for me. I saw her once more after I left him, before I moved back home, and she was very helpful. She gave me a lot of great information on narcissists, and she gave me a hug at the end. I'd also had another OB appointment, just a general one this time, and I'd lost another 4 pounds, which put me below my pre-pregnancy weight. I'm back home now, happily in my 3rd trimester and up 10 pounds, a total weight gain of 8. But we're getting there with a nice normal BP reading. This is the happiest and most stress-free I've been this whole pregnancy, and I'm so relieved to be where I am now. Currently, I don't talk to my ex much. We're trying to come to a custody agreement so it doesn't turn into a battle in court. I've done a lot of research on divorcing a narcissist and it can get ugly. If anyone has any advice on how to protect my daughter from his narcissism, I would love that. I'm not finding much in my research on protecting children in split families from a narcissistic parent, so any resources or anecdotes on that would be amazing. If you read all of this, thank you. I hope you shook your head along with me at all the awful things I put up with. I've learned so much from this experience, and I keep thinking back to all the different I was going through that I didn't recognize at the time. Gaslighting, manipulation, emotional, and mental abuse. If anyone out there is staying with a partner for the baby, or for fear of being alone, don't. It's only been a few weeks and my life is already so much better, and me and my daughter are healthier. Wow, what a trial you've been through. It sounds like you did the right things at all steps and are really trying to make the best of a bad situation for you and your daughter. Keep leaning on those who love you. It sounds like you have good family support. Eventually he will try crawling back, begging, crying, saying all the things and validations you always wanted during your time together. Be prepared to be strong. Save all of the evidence. Create an email account only for this purpose and don't tell anyone about it. Email all the evidence to that email account in case something happens to your phone. Print them out and mail to a trusted friend or family member. Make sure he doesn't have a way to track you at all. Change your bank account, passwords, everything. I had been in a relationship with a narcissist, and they just don't leave you alone or get better. Hope for the best, but prepare yourself for the worst. If you can get him to sign his rights away, the better. I would threaten to tell his supervising officer about the cheating if he doesn't sign those papers. Make sure your words are clear, concise, non-emotional. Record every conversation. Ideally, only text. Good luck. It sounds like you made the right decision. It takes a while to get over the shock of being in a relationship with someone who is so manipulative. You will find someone else who is amazing. I'm very glad to hear that you're out of that situation. Infidelity can be worked through in some instances, but only when both parties really want to. And obviously he had no desire to change his behavior. As far as the divorce and child support and health care go, the military will be your best friend. If ever he doesn't follow the court's orders to a T, get in touch with his command and they will sort it for you. Also, as long as he is enlisted, your daughter will be eligible for free healthcare through TRICARE. You'll be able to get a dependent military ID for her so you can shop on base and go to doctor appointments there for her only. Use those resources. Thank you so much for watching.